Hello and welcome back to RamsTalkPodcast. We are here today after Derby recorded their 5th home win of the season and we climbed into those playoff places. Joining me to get slightly carried away is firstly Ivan Little. How are you, Ivan?
Good, mate. Playoff Rams, we're going up. Very excited for the tail end of the season where we see who can get the most goals between Ajimang and Morris. It's going to be a very tight race.
Quickly, who do you think it will be?
Probably Morris now that he's back, I would guess. But who cares? Who cares? They're both going to get loads, so not bothered.
They're both going to finish on 30. There's the answer. We're also
At
joined
least.
by Callum Boocock. How are you, Cal?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, feeling good after yesterday. We'll obviously talk about that first half. I wasn't feeling too good at half time, but we got it done, didn't we? That's the most important thing. Before we talk about the game yesterday, I just wanted to touch on John Eustace very quickly. Obviously celebrated his 1 year in charge. He described it as a roller coaster, and it's been quite the journey in the year. What do you make of his first year in charge?
Yeah, I've loved it. I'm a big time supporter of John, obviously. I think he's best thing that's happened to our club since, other than maybe Klaus, he's the best thing that's happened to us for quite some time. And having stability has been really, really nice. And you know, people saying it's a roller coaster, I disagree. I think it's been going up and up and up the entire time, pretty much. So we've had some down times a little bit, maybe at the start of this season, but for the most part, it's been really good. And leaving a game happy after getting like 26% possession at home is pretty rare. So it's not wasted on me. I don't take it for granted how brilliant he's been for us.
Cal, last year we were 22nd with 29 points. We were short of a lot of ideas. We were looking over our shoulders thinking we could be going back and playing League One football. I have to give you some credit. I'm going to give you some credit because I remember you were on a podcast, or it might have been Radio Derby, and you were talking about a set of games and you were saying we're going to win 3 games in a row, or we're going to navigate our way out of relegation. And it actually happened. So credit to you. What have you thought of John Eustace in the year that he's been in charge? I mean, he must have been listening to you and thought, I can't let this guy down.
I appreciate you listening as, president of my fan club. But no, look, I think back then, not all hope was lost, but especially when that QPR game, and Eustace probably saw what he was having to work with last season, and the task that he had to hand, what he pulled off was nothing short of a miracle. But then you look at what he's then built into the summer with the recruitment team and the club and the investment that Klaus has provided, and the shrewd business with cash in and reinvesting that really sensibly. And it's built this squad now that the transformation in 12 months is staggering. I think you see over social media, like the amount of bragging rights from third-party clubs and people just neutrally looking at Derby County, just saying like the sheer difference in Eustace's team and the squad he's got to work with, and some of the names that we've now got on our books compared to last season. Which, no disrespect to the lads who kept us up last year, I mean, if they didn't, it'd be totally different. And that's just not sure the league that we'd be playing in, but the standard of quality of players, and it would have just put us back 12 months on the plan and stuff like that. Everything's working out, and we've just got to ride the roller coaster that's currently going up at the moment.
We have indeed, and it's crazy how far we've come in a year. Who knows where we'll be this time next year? Maybe the Premier League. Who knows? Right, enough about that. We're not getting too carried away. Ivan, we've got to talk about yesterday. Obviously, team news came out. We knew that potentially Morris was going to be in the squad. We had Smodics added, obviously, from Ipswich. Couldn't play against his parent club, unfortunately. The big news, I guess, was Smodics was in from the start, and Bobby Clark was benched. What was your thoughts on that decision from Eustace?
I tend to trust Eustace with most things he does, so I wasn't too worried about it. I thought potentially Clark might have picked up a knock, or potentially was just looking a little bit slow in training or something like that. Maybe he's overworked. He's still quite young. So I wasn't too worried about it. The big thing for me was I was really excited about Fraulo starting, because I knew obviously Travis was going to be out, and I was excited about potentially seeing sort of how he was going to chew in Smodix, Brewster, Brereton Diaz, and Ajimang. And I remember earlier in the season, we were sort of talking about the fact that having 4 strikers was a massive issue and it wasn't working. And I looked at that and I was like, not that it's been much different, throughout the season, but it is kind of incredible. That's, again, 4 players who are sort of strikers, like, not necessarily number 9s, but all want to play it to that front man. And to be honest, I thought he was going to play Pat out wide. I thought he'd play Brewster in the 10, Smodix up front, and Pat out on the left again, like he used to be. And he didn't. So I was excited just to see what happened. I was hoping they were going to move around and shift a lot, which they kind of do all the time. He likes them doing that. But yeah, if Clark needed a little bit of a rest, when you come out with a win without playing, and he gets an extra rest, then that can only aid us going forward. So yeah, like I said, I always trust Eustace with what he does, and luckily it paid off.
And Cal, Clark's played a lot of football. We have to remember that over the course of the last couple of months. So having a rest, I think, was probably a good thing. But how important is it that we've now got players that can go straight in? And this is no disrespect to the likes of Jackson and Corey Blackett-Taylor, players that have moved on. But you're bringing in Sammy Smodix, who had that season in the Championship that we know is quality. How important is that now to have that depth and look at that bench and go, you know what, we've really got strength in depth here?
Well, I put in our group chat, I said, I felt it was slightly harsh of Bobby Clark, but then, like you mentioned, he's played a lot of football. He's a loan asset that's not ours, and we've got to manage his minutes. He's at an age where he needs rest. He can't play Saturday, Tuesday. I mean, physically he probably could, but I mean, mentally it's got to be draining, and especially the reliability that we have on him. So to put in someone like Sammy Smodix, which if you would have said before January, you would have, you couldn't believe that bench maybe, well, even not even a month ago, let alone before that. And it was only the Ipswich game that everyone was looking at the bench going, we've got 3 academy players on there, and it's probably shows that we're over reliant on the same 11 all the time. And then 1 week later, we've got a couple of changes, and that bench is looking very, very different. So I mean, look, this squad is just, I'm hoping, touch wood, that this squad is slowly just coming to fruition now. Everyone's coming back from fitness. We've got a couple more to come back in Max Johnson and obviously Morris fully, and Travis obviously will come back from his suspension. I mean, you look at what is still to come, let alone what played yesterday, and you go, you never know what might happen.
Exactly that. If you are listening live on Twitter, X, or YouTube, please put in your best 11. I want to see the best Derby County 11, and I'll read some of them out later. And Ivan and Callum, you can have a think about that as well. Ivan, you talked about Fraulo getting the start. I think a lot of calls were made for him to get the start, with Travis obviously being suspended. What were your thoughts on his overall game?
Not to be too much of a downer, but I thought he was really, really poor throughout the entire game. I thought his positioning was horrendous. And I'm not worried about it because I really like him as a player. And I think he will come good. There's so many elements of what we've seen of him coming off the bench that have looked good. But yeah, yesterday just seemed to get it completely wrong. He seemed to be way too deep when he needed to be sort of pushing on a little bit. And he seemed to be way too high up the pitch when he needs to sort of be helping out in the midfield. So I didn't love his performance. Again, he looks like he's a scrappy player. He tries hard. He works. He doesn't look like he sort of ghosts out the game. It wasn't like I wasn't noticing him. But I really thought in midfield we were struggling because Ozo wasn't having the best game either and was losing the ball a couple of times, and which is obviously rare for him, but it's really, it puts a light on him when he doesn't have much cover. And Fraulo, who was supposed to be playing a little bit deeper for the most part, just wasn't really there to help him out. And I didn't really think they clicked that well, which again, there's so much time and he's so young, and both of them are young, obviously, and they haven't played together much at all. So it will come good, I'm sure. And he's clearly a good player. But yeah, yesterday, I felt like there was no connection there whatsoever, defensively or going forward. So it's a shame, really, because it was a big opportunity for him starting, and Travis will probably be back. But yeah, wasn't too impressed yesterday.
Yeah, and look, he definitely needs time, doesn't he? His new environment. He's playing alongside players that he's not played with before. So I think it's probably going to be the case that Travis comes straight back in, and we want to see an impact again from him off the bench. Because what I would say is Fraulo off the bench in the times that we have seen him this season, I think he's been very good, and he has changed the game for us. So would be excited to hopefully see that over the next couple. Cal, was that the issue with our first half? Because, you look at that first half, Swansea had so much of the ball. Yeah, they didn't do anything with it, but they looked like the team that were going to score. They looked like the team that wanted the ball. And it was just that typical Derby performance in the first half, especially at home. Well,
I think I think Swansea played Sheffield Wednesday last week, but they played them convincingly and are probably coming off a little bit of confidence. We've come off a very frustrating defeat to Ipswich. I think the way that their manager wants to play and is trying to instill them to play, and obviously position, style and stats. I saw a lot of stuff going around about how they dominated all the stats, but the only one that really matters is the scoreline. And we're sixth, and they're in the mid-table positions. I think at the end of the day, the way we want to play probably suited perfectly, although it didn't look really good on the eye. And we weren't at the races 100% in the first half, but the way we want to play is that counter-attacking element, and the best teams to do that against are teams who want to dominate the ball, and that's what Swansea were doing. They were doing it well. They were moving it forward, but then they weren't really testing us. They weren't really doing a lot with it. And I think we could only get better. We couldn't get much worse in that first half. And I think there was a talk about Eustace mentioning there was a couple of things that he tweaked at half time in terms of formation and maybe just the element of pressing their back line a little bit more and just not letting them cut through us as easily. And I thought the second half was totally different. Appreciate the goals that we scored that we'll talk about what came from set pieces, but I just thought we looked a lot more organised and a lot more dangerous in that second half.
We did, yeah, and to come out and score so quickly, Ivan, was really important. Another set piece goal, another delivery from Callum, who just seems to be able to find the right areas with that left foot. How important was it to score so early and just set the tone for the rest of the game?
Yeah, I think it was really important. I mean, you always want to, scoring either side of half time is always good. It just seemed to sort of settle everyone down. And with our home form that we've had recently, you were just hoping that you were going to get it. It didn't matter how it came. And obviously it was really scrappy in the end, but I was super happy with it. It clearly made everyone calm down a bit. Like Cal said, they didn't really challenge us too much. Even the first half, where I felt they had a better half, other than the back pass from Clark, I didn't think they really had anything. They looked really poor going forward, and even when they were nipping the ball off us, our back four was really, really astute. And Sanderson and Clark, I think, had for the most part pretty good games. And obviously the fullbacks were really good as well, which both of them have had stick for sort of the way they've defended in the past. So, yeah, it's really important for us to sort of calm it down. And then you saw we started to open up a little bit. It was more like a home performance than the ones we've seen this season. And and it's a confidence team. This team plays really good football when they want to. And if it took a scrappy goal to sort of get us moving forward, then great, because I know it would have been difficult for them with the fans expecting home performances, which haven't been coming this season.
Cal, Ryan Brewster with another goal. Prolific. I mean, you look at his scoring record at Sheffield United and it's pretty poor, isn't it? I mean, he's halfway to that number in 80 odd less games. It's pretty impressive, really. This is a player, and we talked at the start of the season about players that had a point to prove. And Brewster's probably the biggest of that we brought in, I think, in the summer. He scored again. He's got competition for places, but he just keeps finding performances and goals that probably means that he's going to keep his spot in the side.
Well, he was the player that, for me, when looked at Sammy Szmodic's coming in, if he was going to come in from the start, I was going to probably take Brewster out, even though he scored last week from the penalty. I thought overall, Brereton Diaz has had more of an impact in the last few games than Brewster. And if you were going to limit someone to minutes, it was probably going to be him. And look, he's stuck with Brewster. Brewster's repaid him with another goal. That's consecutive goals in 3 games now. And you might just look at Brewster as one of those where he might not do a lot for probably 75% of the game. But there's a lot of off the work ball that he does that goes unnoticed. But also he's putting him in at the moment. He's clinical. He's not getting many chances, but he's clinical at the moment. And I think for Eustace, he's got to stick with players who are in form, and at the moment the front 3 are in form. And Morris is, although he's the one that everyone wants to come back in, the nice thing is that we don't have to rush him. And I think that with Szmodic's as backup also, that we've got 4 forward players taken out Bennell that are doing really, really well at the moment, and Brewster's one of them.
Yeah, and I think what we've also got to remember is that the players that we have got in forward areas can play right across that line. Obviously, Morris not included. But Szmodics has been brought in as a player that can play anywhere across that 4. We've brought in Bennell as well, who can play on both sides as well. So we've got this really fluid and versatile front line, which I'm excited to see what happens. And I think they're all going to be pushing each other. They're all going to be looking at what they can do to get assists, to get goals. And who knows? I know we joked at the start, but who knows who's going to finish top goal scorer? It could be Morris. It could be Ajimang. Maybe Brereton Diaz is going to go on another little run and pip them both to the post. But Ivan, we'll talk about that man, Ajimang. Cal talked about Brewster not doing too much for large parts of the game. I think you can probably put Ajimang in that category as well. Just seems, again, like the simple stuff he struggles with, controlling a ball that's played 5 yards to him. Look, he does frustrate me. He does frustrate me. However, if you put a ball in the air and he's got half a yard on his defender, he seems to always get there. And it's another typical Patrick Ajimang goal. And the celebration to boast was pretty good as well.
You just had to get a little dig in there, couldn't you? You couldn't just give him straight for his flowers. But all right. Pat's like, I had my concerns at the start of the year. I don't rate the MLS at all. I don't rate American football at all. And I just think a lot of times they come over, especially when they're not, like he's not ridiculously young. He's not 19. He's 25, 24. So he's not, insanely young to the point where he has 10 years before he hits his prime, So I was really worried about it, and he's completely proved me wrong. I think he's changed massively since he first came in after being injured for the start, and his hold-up plays look so much better. Going past people, he looks confident. His finishing's been great. He's great in the air, and I just think he's such a vital asset for us. And whatever we end up selling him for will be massive, because it's so odd. I don't remember the last time we had a player where every single time I check Twitter, or you see other teams' fans, everyone's talking about him. And it's like, I really think he's fantastic. I think a lot of fans seem to go the extra mile with talking about him, and he is a great player. But I've never seen anything like it. Every time you see another fan talking, they're like, "Oh, I wish we had a direct player who's powerful, like Ajimang for Derby." And Morris has been fantastic this year. I still haven't seen like nearly as much talk about him. So I'm really excited for him, and it's coming at a great time for him. So I'm over the moon for him that he might get into the US side, and I really hope they don't do anything at the World Cup. But if he scores a couple of goals and does himself a service, then it'll only help us when he ends up leaving us for someone else. So I'm over the moon with him. I'm really glad he got another powerful header yesterday, because it only adds to his arsenal of goals that he's got this year.
Callum, you've always been a fan of Patrick Ajimang. I think from the minute we signed him, you were back in the signing, and you often tell me in the group chat how wrong I was to begin with. And I'll admit, I probably was wrong. But yeah, I guess just to add to what Ivan said there, how impressed have you been over this recent run, and taking into consideration, I mean, I was in the stands when Morris got injured, and I remember saying to my dad, that's that over with then. We've literally lost our talisman. But we haven't missed him. I don't think we've actually missed him. We've probably missed Morris more in our own box defending corners than we have in the opposition's box. That's what I'd probably put it down to.
No, I agree. I think when you look at what Ajimang offers, there was a brief element over Christmas where he had to learn the other side of his game. I mean, there was that point where when we played him up as a number 9, he was struggling, and his main position was out on that left-hand side. But I think whatever they've done on the training ground with him, I know that we signed essentially an athlete. We've signed him for what he offers physically and the attributes that he offers. He can finish. There was quite a lot of... I watched a podcast that he went on last week, an American podcast, and he was saying that one of the main things he was improving was his heading. He actually hadn't scored a lot of headers in his career. A lot of them were shots, and the main thing that they were saying that we need to use your attributes of your height and your physicality and your awareness and your attacking movement. And I think that when you look at the way he's progressed as a central number 9 is staggering. And I think that we've now got 2 number 9s who are offering totally different assets. One as a hold-up player, and one as a ball in behind. But the nice thing is Ajimang's starting to learn both.
He is, yeah. And I think the one thing with Ajimang is who knows where his ceiling is. We look at certain players and we know that they will be championship players until the end of time, and they'll retire as a championship player, or they'll obviously go and fall down the pyramid. But with Ajimang, you just don't know, Ivan, how good he potentially could be. He's got the world looking at him. USA are a host nation in the summer. He's got Pochettino, who seems to be a fan. I saw a podcast, Landon Donovan and Tim Howard were raving about Patrick Ajimang. I mean, how far?
I wouldn't listen to them.
Could he go?
Don't listen to them. Yeah, sorry. What did you say? How far could he go?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think his ceiling's incredible. He's, like all of us keep saying, he's really raw, really talented, and Eustace has managed to hone in all of the qualities that he had. I also think he's in a great side for it. Having Ward and Elder crossing the ball to you, like, there's quite a few players who are going to get better at heading the ball, having that kind of service. So that's been a massive thing for him. I'm just so impressed with... I think Morris is such an unbelievable signing. Like, regardless of the goals and what he's added going forward for us, behind the scenes, he's worn the captain's armband for us. He's a real leader. He seems to get on really well with the fans and behind this. Like, he's only been with us for... I can't remember what month we signed him, but since summer, it's only been half a season, and he's been injured for a massive part of that. I see parts of Pat that I think massively are learned through watching and playing with Carlton Morris. And I can only imagine what he's sort of teaching him behind the scenes, because his hold-up play has been so much better. At the start of the season, he was like, Bambi on ice. Like he couldn't seem to quite get his control right and bring in other players. And that's so important to how we play, especially when we're playing with the 4-2-3-1 that we're doing now. He's got to be able to play as that focal point and bring in the three really attacking players that we've got behind, whoever it is, Clark, Brewster, Brereton Diaz, literally anyone who's playing there. He is so good at doing that now. So that's really important. And like you said, the World Cup's going to be huge, because it overrates your value at the time massively. If he can go and score even 2 or 3 goals, or get 1 goal that's late and has a great second half off the bench or something, for some reason, obviously it's the biggest stage, so everyone's watching, but for some reason that the sort of value that people put behind half a performance at the World Cup, because you don't get many opportunities, is massive. And people will start looking at a 6'6", quick, strong 25-year-old who, is playing in the Championship, whether or not we go up. He could be. That is such a rare thing to find now. Like Cal said, having the athlete that Pat is just as important as how much output he has for us. It's so important. Having a strong, quick player up front who is as raw as he is and has had less than a season in English football, it could be massive. And it's a win-win, because either he stays with us and keeps improving, or we get a big fee for him. And with our recruitment at the moment, I'm full of confidence that they would put that money to good use again. So,
but I think when you look at like the World Cup and the squad that he's going up against, and potentially even making the squad and making that starting 11, do you guys think that what level does he have to reach by the end of the season to probably push for that starting 11? Because I think obviously he's been an impact player. I think from what I've seen, he didn't really play a lot in the Gold Cup, and obviously now he's improved since then. But what does he need to get to even have a shot to impress?
He won't start. He won't start. It's so unlikely. I've watched quite a lot of them play, and they play. I mean, usually, like, their fans love Balogun, who is their sort of, who I don't particularly rate that highly, but he's playing at a certain level that is higher than what we're playing at now. So even if we went on a run and finished in the playoffs, I think I'd put a lot of money on him not starting in the first game at least. But, injuries happen. Like, it happens all the time. Pochettino has shown that he likes him, and that's when he was playing in a worse standard of league, much more raw, for less time, not being trusted by another top manager. So loads of things can change, and you need a lot of luck in these kind of situations. But like I said, it's a win-win. If he goes and gets a goal off the bench, or even starts because of an injury or something, or even in that third group game, if they've got it wrapped up, because it's quite an easy group, no offense to Callum Elder, they might switch it up, and think, let's chuck the 25-year-old on, let's see if he can do something. And that's going to be massive for us, because like I said, not for some reason, but half a performance in the World Cup can add genuine millions to your price tag, and people just want to get them now. He could be gone in late July because of a goal he scores in the group games against Australia or whatever. So I'm really excited for him, but I think it would take a ridiculous amount of him to start for them.
If you are just joining us, this is Patrick Ajimang Talk. We are here every week to talk about Big Pat in the lead up to the World Cup.
Fine with me.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here for it. Let's move on. We'll move on. Cal, wanted to talk just quickly about something that I think is pretty cool. Vickers, O'Donnell and Zetterstrom have all kept clean sheets for Derby this season. On the spot, when was the last time that happened?
1974.
Right, and name the goalkeepers. Someone
fact check me.
It's got to be Grant Carson and Jonathan Mitchell have got to have done it, surely.
I'm not sure. I saw the stat that you mentioned, and I was like, that's got to be one of those pub quiz questions that it's going to be a real niche a situation that we've got this season with our 3 goalkeepers.
Yeah, like the Great Frost of 1950, whatever Adam said in the Christmas special. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to remember. We'll have to look into that. If anyone in the comments can look and see the last time 3 Derby keepers kept league clean sheets in the same season, I'd be very impressed. But Ivan, Vickers just seems to be getting better as well. I mean, O'Donnell was fantastic. I was there at Charlton away, and I thought he had a solid game. We've obviously got Zetterstrom. We don't need to go into how good he is, but you look at Eustace and what he's obviously done for the team, and you look at his staff that he's got, but you've got to give credit to the goalkeeping coach who's come in, who's clearly brought these players on tenfold.
Yeah, I think it's massive, and it's great for them as a group, because you sort of know how tight knit a group of goalkeepers are at a club, and they all seem to be really sport. I see all through, maybe not Vickers, but you see a lot on Twitter of them sort of talking with each other, and they just seem to be championing each other loads, and it's shown by Vickers signing the contract extension. I was blown away. Not that it's a huge, ridiculous, keep having him. I love him, but he could easily be starting for other championship clubs. I'm sure he's a really good, confident keeper, and confidence for a keeper is one of the biggest things. We saw it with Wildsmith. Wildsmith was a good keeper, but he always had that aspect of him that was like, he's just going to do something. He's going to kick it in the wrong place, or he's going to give it away at the wrong time. And now we've got 3 keepers who all seem to be sort of looking after each other. And there's an element of luck with it. The teams that we've played, I think, we haven't played a Coventry or someone who's really attacking like a Millwall. That would be a little bit more tricky. They'd have to face more shots. Like Vickers didn't have anything to do yesterday. He made that one save in the second half after the winger went past Joe Ward. And other than that, he didn't have much to do. So, and it kind of brings me on to my next point, which is, it speaks volumes in the defence for me. The defence as a group, goalkeepers included, have been phenomenal this year, and it's so integral to how Eustace wants to play. So massive credit to the goalkeeper coach and the goalkeeper, group. But as a team, we're defending so well, and we're making it as easy as possible for the keepers to have a good game. So I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, exactly that. And look, it's hard not to get excited at the moment. We're talking it through today, and we're talking about the top end of the pitch. We're talking about the fact that we're solid defensively. And yesterday we were missing leaders in Travis, Morris, Langas, all players that, if any of those had been out, one of them would have worn the captain's armband. I think poor Matt Clark had to wear it yesterday and probably didn't know what to do with it, to be quite honest. But yeah, it's amazing how this could go. It really is. And look, we don't want to get carried away. There's a lot of football to be played. There's a lot of good teams in this division. But if we can hit the heights that we've seen at certain points this season and that we know we're capable of, surely, Cal, we've got to have a chance of getting in those playoffs. We're in there at the moment. So that speaks volumes.
I mean, I was just having a look while you were chatting there, like some of the pods that we were putting out a year ago, and it's got John Eustace has 13 games to save Derby County from relegation, and how does John Eustace fix this Derby County team? Those are the sort of things that we were chatting about a year ago, and you think 12 months on, we're now in 6th position, and we're talking about players that we would only talk about potential rumours and stuff like that. They're now in our squad. They're scoring goals for us. And you think that when we're looking at what we want to aspire to for the next 2-3, the club talk about this project, and that Eustace talks about it. He's here for the next 2 to 3 years trying to build us, and we are ahead of schedule at the moment. But what a way to be ahead of schedule when you've got a team that's firing. And look, the home form was the big thing that was letting us down this year. Hopefully yesterday's the start of that being turned around, and it wasn't 100%. We just needed to get it over the line. And I think that the home form, if we can sort that out, we've got 2 away games next. If we can sort that out, we could be up there as a dark horse. And then when you hit the playoffs, anything can happen.
Exactly. Anything can happen at Wembley as well, as we do know. I asked earlier with regards to our strongest 11. I'll give Ivan and Callum a few seconds longer, and I'll just read out some comments. Weaponized Autism on YouTube has put Zetstrom, Ward, Langas, Clark, Elder, Ozo, Clark holding, Ajimang left, Smodic central, Brewster right, and Morris up top. We've also got Sam Negus, JWZ, Ward, Elder, Clark, Langas, Travis, Ozo, Smodics, Ajimang, Brereton, and Morris. I think that's pretty strong as well. We've got Will, who said Zetterstrom, Elder, Clark, Langas, Ward, Travis, Fraulo, Ajimang, Clark, BBD, Morris. So yeah, some similarities there. Obviously, it's difficult now. You know, you asked us 12 months ago about our strongest 11, and to be honest, I think some of us would probably name 10 players and say that that would probably do it. Ivan, what's your starting 11 if everyone is fit and firing?
I honestly have no idea. The problem is like, if it's, I want to play a back five, because for me, Sanderson, Clark, and Langas are all fantastic. And then you've got to play Ward and Elder. But then I can't lose a midfielder, because I would want to play. I don't necessarily think Travis is like our best player, but I think he's going to be important, and he is important to the way that Eustace wants to play. And he's important for Ozo, who I think has to be in that team. So I would play 4 at the back. I would go Joe Ward, and I would drop. At the moment, I would drop Sanderson if I had to, and that feels awful, which is a great position to be in. A horrible headache for Eustace is fantastic for us. And then, you've got to have Ozo. I'd go Travis. You've got to have Clark in the 10. And then I'd go Pat out on the left, Brereton Diaz on the right, I guess, and Morris up front. And that feels weird, because it's like, if I was to pick our best 11 players, it would be a different, like, I don't think that's our best 11 players in the team. But in terms of how the best way we would play, that is how I would do it if Eustace was managing. So that's how I'd do it. But it's incredibly hard, which is amazing for us, because last year it was like, do we play Yates or Harness? And where do we play them? And that was the worst. So no disrespect to them, but that was tricky. So it's a really nice problem to have, but yeah, tricky for me. I don't really know.
Cal?
I've just swapped that front line about 4 times while waiting for Ivan to finish there. It's so difficult. I'd go Zet. If everyone was fit, I'd go Zetterstrom in goal. I'd go Elder left back. I'd go Clark and Langas, Ward at right back. Ozo, Travis. I'm going to put Bobby Clark in there with them in the 10. And then I've kind of set my store. I'm gone Ajimang, Morris, and Brereton Diaz. Because
same as me.
I was sat there and looking at it going, do I go Brewster? Do I go Schmodix now? But I just think that Brereton Diaz is a little bit better in the wider area. And if you're playing a focal point in Morris, having 2 players in Ajimang and Brereton Diaz who can kind of play that slightly wider forward role, it is good. And I think that Travis is, although he's not the best technical player, he's a leader. He gives a bit of balance, and I think Bobby Clark for me was the player that was missing yesterday. I just think that he's that bit of creativity that you just need to kind of take us up the field. So I'm putting him in there.
I like it, and as we said, there's many different adaptations of that team that you could probably put out that you'd feel fairly confident that would get a result at most grounds up and down the country. So what a time to be a Derby County fan at the moment. Let's look ahead then. We've obviously got, as Callum said earlier, 2 away games to look forward to. We have got Watford away and then Hull away. Watford is our next game. Sold out away end. We don't expect anything different. Ivan, what's your thought for that one?
For Watford to start, they've been on a bit of a slide at the moment. I'm almost certain they've won one game in 2026. They got battered by Bristol City, and I know it was in the cup, but they got battered 5-1 by Bristol City not too long ago in January. So yeah, they've struggled, and they obviously go through managers a lot. But because we've seen with the Championship over the years, the sort of 19th to like 4th is so close. So you never know what a run can do, and their poor run has put them right down the sort of other end. But a couple of wins and you're sort of up and running again. So I think it'd be a tricky game. Obviously, they've got Loser, who's a very good player and always seems to play pretty well against us. And I hate him. But I think if we play the way we've been playing away from home, which is like Barcelona, then we should be fine. And I think I don't know if you guys agree, but I would guess Morris is starting on Saturday, just because I think if he only got a minute, that I think he would have come on earlier had we been like 0-0 against Swansea in like the 70th or 80th. But he only got a minute, so maybe he might need another game off the bench. He also got injured against Watford and doesn't really like them very much, so maybe he'll want to start. But yeah, I think we'll do well, and I think we'll win, which will be great because it's so tight at the moment going for playoffs, and we don't have that long left. So hopefully, a big win will push us further up.
It's the kind of game where I could potentially see Morris scoring off the bench. So I remember looking at a couple of Watford fans on X, and not being too pleasant about that particular injury. And that was when we didn't really know what had happened. Everyone was thinking, is it an ACL? Is it something that's going to cost him all season? So I'm sure Carlton would be chomping at the bit to get one back over Watford. Cal, what's your thoughts of? I mean, we're going into most games now fairly confident. 2 away games to look forward to. Obviously, Watford first. What's your thoughts on that one?
I think, Watford have not. They've only won one game in 2026. Ivan was correct. In fact, I wanted to check that. But I think when you look at their home form, they are 6th in the table. They're worse away from home than they are at home, so they're not going to be easy. But they are going up against one of the best away teams in the league at the moment. And I think that when you look at what we do and the way we play, it just be how we set up. I think, like you mentioned, is Morris going to start? Is Morris going to be on the bench? I'm not 100% sure. I would probably go with the same team that played against Bristol City, and probably bring him off the bench, have Smodics come off the bench also. I think Brewster, Brereton Diaz and Ajimang have got more than enough firepower to cause them issues. And then two better options off the bench than you even got Salverson, who scored against Bristol City. So you got Salverson, Morris and Smodics coming off the bench. I mean, you don't get much better than that in the Championship. So I will go 2-0 win away to Derby County, and I will go Ajimang and Morris. They're going to just carry on going together. Morris with his poorly ankle is back.
Yeah, just fighting each other till the very end to see who can get that top goal scorer, and potentially, who knows, getting top goal scorer for the division as well. If you've got some score predictions, please do get them in the chat. Big shout out to Paula, who's really making sure that everyone smashes the likes in the chat. Paul or Paula, if we get promoted, I hear. Ivan, what's your thoughts? What score and goal scorers? I mean, we're going to score, aren't we? Because we always score.
Yeah. Well, no, we're not. But I think we'll win. I think we'll win 1-0. I think Brereton Diaz will score. And I think I've just got a weird feeling we haven't had one of those games where we score early and it's just horrible for the entire game. And I think it would just be a scrappy game. They'll be sort of fighting to turn their form back around. But if we can score early, as we've seen at Pride Park and you see all over the country, when you're kind of up against it and you're not having a great time in the last few games, an early home conceded goal can really deflate the crowd and really start getting them on the back. So maybe if we score early, it will be easier to sort of open up. But I think a 1-0 win, I think a fairly comfortable game. which is odd to say. And yeah, getting them back for, scoring 3 against us after we were 2-0 up, which was incredibly painful to watch. So yeah, exciting.
Exciting time. A lot of positivity. There's a lot of positivity in the chat as well. The legend that is Jim says we'll beat Watford 3-1. Big Pat, and yes, Jamie Morris off the bench. Michael says 1-0 Derby, I think. Paul says 3-0 Derby win. Peter Kerr says 2-0 Clark and Morris. Callum says 2-1 Derby. Jake Barker, I'm not sure if that is a real account or if that's a fake one, says 2-1 Ajimang and Zetterstrom. Oh, yes, that is the real Jake Barker. He's always putting stuff like that, isn't he? What else have we got? Yeah, that's everything in terms of the chat. I think I'm going to agree. I'm going to be positive. I'm normally the negative one, aren't I? And saying we're going to lose. But no, I think we'll get the job done. I can see us winning 2-1. And I have to agree with everyone. I think Ajimang and Morris, Ajimang will score first and take that title for a couple of moments, and then Morris off the bench to win it for the Rams. But yeah, it's good times at the moment. Thank you, David Clowes, for bringing in John Eustace. Thank you, John Eustace, for bringing in Patrick Ajimang. And thanks to Patrick Ajimang for winning the World Cup this summer and going to Tottenham for 50 million when Pochettino goes there in the summer. So look, that's what's going to happen. You heard it here first. If you have enjoyed this episode, please do go and subscribe to us on YouTube. Please do rate us 5-star wherever you get your podcast from. If you want to comment, if you're listening back and you want to comment, we read everyone. We talk back to everyone. There's some great things popping off in the chat, and there's always good talking points on comments as well. So please do get involved. It's only left for me to say it's goodbye from me.
If everyone could stop doing the USA chant, I would be incredibly grateful. It's goodbye
and
from
if
me.
anyone's got a ticket for Watford, please do.
Yeah, swing it my way. Swing it my way. I could walk there.
I'll talk to you guys about Wembley hotels after this. Goodbye from me.
Yeah, that'll be another 45 minutes, I reckon. So yeah, we'll get strapped in. We'll see you soon.